Okay, so the title of my project, like you said, is Moxie Reader plus Google is an innovative alternative for today's teen reader. And basically, I've went through several of these grants, and I have taught language arts for 15 years now. And one problem that I always have is having students read outside of class. How do you hold that accountable? So if I have any other language arts teachers in here, you can probably relate to that problem. And I've done traditional reading logs where students read, they write down the page numbers they read, they write down how long they read, that kind of thing. And the logistical person in me, I know, kids lie. They write down that they read just so they can check it off. I mean, that's what kids do. So I wanted to find a way to better monitor their reading levels because I believe in the power of reading and what that does for my students. And the last couple of years, I'd kind of backed off that. I'd focused on test scores. I wanted those top scores, and I got away from that reading fluency. So just some research that I wanted to share with you that kind of backs up why I went this route. For students who read 20 minutes a day, so that's what research shows, that's kind of the magic number. If they read 20 minutes a day outside of class, and they start in kindergarten, and by the time they get to 6th grade, that's 60 days of school that student will have. If a student reads 5 minutes a day outside of class, kindergarten through 6th grade, then that's 12 days of school for that student. So there's a big difference in the quantity they read and how often they read. Some other interesting facts, if you're reading 20 minutes a day, that's 3,600 minutes per school year for the average school year. 1.8 million words that kid would read a year outside of your class. And that number, when I saw that, that just kind of blew my mind because I thought that's a lot of exposure to words. If you're only reading 5 minutes, it's only 282,000 words. And then I think we can all attest to this was probably the most powerful piece of research. That student that reads 20 minutes outside of class, they tend to score in the 90th percentile on standardized tests. And we all know how important that is, especially with ACT and your scholarships tied to a lot of that. The students who only read 5 minutes, they only score in the 50th percentile on average. So those were powerful numbers to me, and that kind of got me to thinking, I need to reinforce that outside of reading time. So I implemented a new policy in my class this year. Students have to read 20 minutes outside of class every day through the week. I don't have them do it on the weekends. I just have them do it through the week. And they have to document their reading. And I've already noticed problems. Kids lose their reading logs. They forget to write it down. They're not really honest because when I ask them about the book, they can't tell me things. We've done reader responses, and you can usually tell when you do those responses which kids have read and which haven't. And I work at a middle school where we have never had AR. Our librarian that was there when I started 15 years ago, she didn't believe in the program at the middle school level, so we never had AR at our school. That was great for our kids because when they came from the elementary school and they found out they didn't have to do AR anymore, they threw their hands up because they didn't like that program. So my husband attended the ISTE conference this year in Chicago, and he brought me some of the material he found at his conference. And a new program was out, and it's called Moxie Reader. And it's relatively inexpensive. It's about $63 for one teacher account, and that allows you to have 3 classes with up to 35 students, I think, in each count. And it's supposed to be a new alternative to AR to help students document how much they read and how often they read. So I just got access to the program yesterday, so I've not actually got to review it yet, but what my grant is going to do, I'm going to compare, I've been keeping record of participation and quality of work of the students who've done reading logs August through October. And then once we get our Moxie account set up, then students are going to be documenting their reading using the Moxie Reader program. And everything that I found out about it, it's to encourage that independent reading. Students set their own goals. They have their own account. They'll have their own pen. I'm purchasing a Google Pixel book to have in my classroom. We're a 1-to-1 district. In my middle school, the students can take their Chromebooks home if they pay their insurance fee. I've had the biggest problem this year I've ever had with students, to be honest with you, because they don't charge them, they lose them, they break them. And so those are some big problems that we're running into. So out of a class of 20, 25, I usually have 2 to 3 every day that don't have theirs or it's not charged. So I wanted that Pixel book in my room to have a station so when we use the Moxie Reader, they can scan their books. So what they will do, they will bring in library books from the public library or our school library. They will go to their Moxie Reader account, sign in, and then they just scan the barcode. And then there's some questions they have to answer. And then based on the Lexile score, and there's different ratings that you can use. We use Lexile numbers. So based on that Lexile, they will get recommendations for other books. They will have book challenges. They're going to be put into groups. And like I said, it seems to have a lot of good benefits. And I'm just learning because, like I said, I just got access last night. But some other things that I plan to do with the kids on the Moxie Reader, they can also do book reviews, and they can create QR codes. And I'd like to see our library be a little more interactive. Right now, it's just books on a shelf. And so that's not, to me, real appealing to kids. So I want to have them do some book reviews and have those connected to QR codes. So my grant was purchasing that access to Moxie Reader and then having a Pixel book that will be in my room. It will be charged every day that kids can access when we do our reading logs. And to measure my grant, like I said, I'm going to do a pre and post reading comprehension test. I've already done my pre-test to measure their grade level, their reading levels, and then at the end of the year, we'll measure again. They're also going to look at participation, how many students I have participate using Moxie Reader versus how many I have using just the traditional reading log. And then, of course, I want to do a survey with my students. I want to know how they feel about keeping up with that paper copy versus that electronic interaction. And then, of course, my goal is to increase comprehension and fluency, but to also increase their quantity, how much they're reading, how often they're reading, and that they're keeping track of it. So that was kind of in a nutshell. Any questions? I know I tend to talk fast, so I apologize for that.